Yo, 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 what's good? What's good? It's Jost the Babe. Yeah, I didn't know mine. Back again with another episode of Controversial Conversation. And before we get into it, you already know, man, go ahead, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell so y'all can get everything every time it drop. So that y'all can help us build up this ecosystem for leftists, for left wing, for people who are trying to move us more to the left. This is the spot for y'all. You have found your place, you have found your people, and you have found your host. I am Joust, and we finna get off into it. So when I came back to the show, I started doing a lot more talking about how do we mobilize, how do we organize, and how do we redevelop a community, and how do we create a better way forward for all of us, even the ones that for some reason vote against their best interests and just don't listen to us and keep wanting to fight for no other reason than the fact they just want to fight. Who knows? I don't know. Anyways, for everybody to move forward for the collective good, this is how we do it. And that is the things that we're talking about today. So on the 20 ways to move forward, and then also in the first quarter, I talked about coalition charters, and coalition building is definitely something we have to get a lot better at. But I wanted to talk about an actual charter, how to create one, right? This is something that you guys can do if you're in an organization, if you're just creating something out of a whim, if it's like a neighborhood, committee thing, whatever. If you have the people, you can definitely do this. So today we are talking about how to create a coalition charter so that you can become more organized when it comes to effectively moving throughout your community and getting the resources that you need. So let's get to it. Let's get to it. All right. So first, you need your mission statement, right? And the mission statement is to create a self sustaining, empowered community through redevelopment, coalition building, and strategic action. So, redeveloping, we're going to use a example of where I live as a way that you guys can see how this can work in real time. So this is how we can redevelop the north side of Warner Robins and how it can serve as a blueprint for uplifting, protecting, and mobilizing underserved neighborhoods across the nation. All right. So this is the coalition structure. You need a policy advocacy department. And the purpose is to push for legislative and systemic change to address structural inequalities. So the roles look like policy analysts that'll research and draft proposals tackling housing, education, and economic inequality. You need lobbyists. I know we hate them, but sometimes they actually do good for us when they're actually fighting for the betterment. So we need those people that are going to advocate for these proposals at local and state levels. And we need public relations specialists, right? So we have to build campaigns to raise awareness and rally public support. And the reason that I love policy advocacy is because it's a form of education. It is how we can get to the next department, which is policy education department. And this is about empowering residents by educating them on the policies that we are advocating for. I feel like if they don't understand the policy, if they don't understand the bill, if they don't understand the language, then it doesn't matter what we're telling them, right? So we can advocate all day long and then we can tell them to go vote for this person who will potentially do what we're advocating for. But that does not matter if they don't understand the policy. So your next department has to be a policy education department, right? So the roles, we have civic educators, similar to what we do over here at CRN, where you host workshops on local government and public policy. You have content creators who can develop accessible materials such as videos and social media posts. And then you have outreach coordinators, right? So you ensure underserved populations receive this information. That is a problem. When it comes to rural areas, people don't understand how important the Postal Service is. They're mad that the Postal Service has become very, very, very late. I was going to say lagging, latency. I didn't know which word I was going to use. That kind of, I don't know, my bad, y'all. But anyways, the reason that they've been as late is one, they've been handicapped by a BS post general master. But aside from that, there's a lot of other issues that go when it comes to delivering postal mail, right? So the best part about the Postal Service is that they go everywhere. It's actually put into the Constitution so that it can't be taken out. But what they're doing is they're trying to defund it, and they're trying to damage it enough that people's perception of it will be like, yo, let's privatize it. So somebody like Bezos with Amazon or somebody like that can try to come in there. The problem is they need the logistics of the USPS because there is no incentive to go into these rural areas. And they are people who are folks that should be cared about too, right? Like, I don't even know why I have to break that down, but yeah, these people need to be thought about and they need to be reached. These are not only potential voters, these are your neighbors. They just might be on the outskirts. They just might be a little further. They just might be in the sticks and in the woods, but that does not mean they're any less valuable. So you need outreach coordinators that are able to get into these communities and into these spaces. All right. And the next department you're going to need is a community development department, right? So the purpose of this is to lead the physical and economic revitalization of the north side of town. So you need urban planners that will design projects to improve housing, infrastructure, and public spaces. You need grant writers that will secure funding for redevelopment projects. And you need local business liaisons that will collaborate with Black owned businesses that can create jobs. Economic empowerment a is non-negotiable. There has there has to be ways for the community to sustain itself without having to use external factors. There needs to be some type of intrinsic motivation or way or incentive for them to be able to generate the money that circulates within their community if all hell breaks loose, right? So you need a community development department. And these are very, very important people. And these are people that should definitely understand, one, how not to repeat the failures that led to ghettoization and how not to repeat the failures of discriminatory practices and being exclusionary when it comes to the redevelopment. So we talked a little bit about this next one when it comes to when it came to the Black Panther video that we did. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out. It was a good conversation. The tragic hero of Huey Newton, man, that's my dog. Obviously I ain't know the man, but you know what I mean. But the tragic hero of Huey Newton, and then also the lessons that we can learn from the Black Panthers. Excuse me, I don't know what that's going on in my throat. Excuse me. All right. Anyways, so the next thing that we need is a self-defense and survivalism department. Okay. And the purpose is because you have to protect the community while empowering residents with survival skills. If this becomes a fully self-sufficient ecosystem that is your community, then you will no longer be reliant upon the systems that are outside of your community. So you have to be able to survive within whatever or with whatever resources you have access to. So there's a video, I believe, from this Revolt conversation with Killer Mike, and he's basically saying you guys aren't ready for the revolution. He's like, y'all don't know how to hunt your own food, you don't know how to grow your own food, you don't know how to defend yourself, you don't know how to do a whole list of things that are survivalism. But see, there are militias and groups, militias for the self-defense and groups for the survivalism that are basically dedicated to teaching the community how to have these skills that can take you out, for like a weekend in the woods and stuff like that, and teach you how to understand how to navigate through their like land nav and stuff from the military or other types of stuff like teaching self-defense, getting people to understand how to use weapons. Not to say that the fight is coming, but there's this phrase that I have always loved. And they say it is better to be a warrior in the garden than it is to be a gardener in the war. And basically, it means it is best to always be prepared on all fronts than to just not have that knowledge. So we need self-defense and we need survivalist tactics, and they will protect the community. So we need tactical trainers to teach self-defense, firearm safety, and conflict de-escalation. We need survival experts that will educate on food preservation, water purification, and first aid. And then we need strategic coordinators to organize neighborhood safety teams and drills. Everybody has a role, and everybody can be a part of this, and everybody can feel the pride of the community when it is redeveloped. And something else that they'll be able to feel is what the next department specializes in, and that is our health and our wellness department. So the purpose is to address physical, mental, and emotional health within the community. So the roles will be health educators that can run programs on nutrition, exercise, and preventative care. And this is something similar to the clinics that the Black Panthers were putting on, or mental health advocates that could provide counseling and trauma resources, and also substance abuse specialists, right? So that can help combat drug use and offer recovery support. Within our communities, we can go and be better than what our criminal justice system is. Our criminal justice system is about institutionalization, and that's why recidivism is as high as it is, right? So when it comes to rehabilitation and getting people off of their drugs or whatever it may be, rather than putting them in isolation or some type of prison system or whatever, they now have the resources to get better and to make better decisions. And if they're getting better at the same time the community is getting better, they have a great chance of sustaining whatever they end up, sustaining and retaining. I don't know. But whatever it is that they're getting in that moment, they're going to have a way better chance of holding on to that. So we need a health and a wellness department. We also need an economic empowerment department. Now, I already talked about community development, but this is a little bit different, right? This isn't about how we develop within the community. This is about how we fund the things that we need to develop. How do we create wealth within our community so that we can operate and talk to external communities? So the purpose is to foster financial independence and generational wealth. So the roles would look like financial literacy coaches. I got a homeboy that does that. Trust me, he is fire. He is so good when it comes to that stuff. And that's teaching budgeting or crediting, my bad, that's teaching budgeting, credit, and investing, or job trainers that can develop skills-based programs for sustainable careers. That is important because that right there is going to help with the homeless situation. One of the biggest issues that people fail to address when it comes to the homeless crisis is that they don't understand that if you don't teach sustainable skills to this individual, then they're not going to be able to hold themselves down. So it does take mental health services. It does take sometimes getting them off of whatever substances they may be abusing. It takes them learning how to hold down a job, and then they will potentially be able to sustain a house, right? So you take them from the street to the house by giving them the skills that they need to be sufficient. And then you also reduce crime that way. And then the best way to talk about how you reduce that crime is by utilizing the next department, and that is your media and your communications department. So with this, you can control the narrative and amplify the coalition's work. So what you need is storytellers, people that can share success stories to inspire other communities. You need media strategists that can manage social media and press relations. And you need community journalists that will expose systemic issues while highlighting the solutions. That right there is so key. That is something that we want this platform to always feel like it is synonymous with or recognized with. Exposing systemic issues while highlighting solutions. It is not enough to just talk about the problem. What is the solution and how can we fix it? And that is what community journalists can do within this personalized ecosystem or this collective community of self-sufficiency, right? And you're also going to need a legal redress department. So that will provide legal support, advocacy, and education to protect the residents. So you need community lawyers that can offer legal aid for housing disputes and civil rights cases. You need policy watchdogs that can monitor local and state legislation for harmful laws. And they're also going to work with the policy education and the policy advocacy departments. So a lot of these departments can work hand in hand, but they are separate because the functions that they need to facilitate are different and distinct. So there's also a need for advocacy trainers, which will teach residents their legal rights and system navigation. Learning your rights is imperative, even if you're not in this system or not system, even if you're not in this ecosystem or this community that we're trying to build. It is imperative that you know your rights and that you can navigate whatever system is not necessarily opposing you or oppressing you, but whatever system that you have to work within. So the last thing is definitely my favorite, and it's the arts department, right? You got to use art for storytelling, healing, and community cohesion. Because what is the community going to do if you don't have the art to timestamp the revolution? People need to know exactly what is going on when it comes to the music, when it comes to the visuals, when it comes to the dancing, when it comes to everything like that. The arts are one of the most important things of cultural development, community development, community mobilization. All of it ties in together. So you need visual artists that will create murals and digital media representing the movement. You need musicians and poets that will compose work that energizes and educates. And you need cultural historians that will archive community art and oral histories. These people right here are some of the most important because they are the ones that, when it's all said and done, will have the narratives be spread. And it is what they collect that will tell the true story of that revolutionary movement. When we think of the civil rights, yes, we think of the policy of 1964 Voting Rights Act and those, or yeah, the Voting Rights Act and the housing bill and all those other things, but it's the sounds, right? It's the speeches. It's the books that were written, it's the movies that were made, it's everything in that time frame that was able to encapsulate the feeling so you could experience it, right? There was a level of experience when it came to understanding that we are in this fight. And then you had things like Woodstock that culminated a whole bunch of all of this counterculture coming together in solidarity, right? And throughout all that, you had community building with all kinds of different organizations. And that is what we have to get back to on a big, wide scale. Get back to coalitions coming together to build for the betterment of society. So, like I said, I use this as a blueprint for how you, and I mean you as in people who are in Warner Robins, or, and for people to actually that are watching this to also understand it, right? So this right here is how you could do the immediate steps for either your community or how, if you're watching this, and I hope you are, and you're in Warner Robins, how we can do this here. First, coalition building. You have to identify and recruit leaders and stakeholders for each department. And you have to host a community meeting to share the vision and rally support. Two, pilot program priorities. You have to launch visible wins like public space cleanups and financial literacy workshops that develop a self-defense program and establish trust to empower the residents. These two things, develop the self-defense program to establish the trust, and then also the financial literacy workshops to show a visible win. Three, funding and resources. Apply for grants focused on community development and mental health, and then partner with local businesses and national organizations for sponsorships. And four, your media strategy. Publicly announce the pilot program and document successes to build momentum. Create a website or social media hub for resident engagement. So, what is the long-term vision? Replication. Develop a playbook to replicate this model in other communities. Global connections. Strengthen ties with international movements to enhance strategy and resources and scalability. Expand this coalition's work across Georgia and nationally and eventually globally and build a sustainable legacy. This right here is how you build your coalition, create the charter, and allow yourselves the ability to move forward. This is how you create the path forward. This is how you create a list of fully functioning individuals ready to go. This is one of the things that we talk about in the mobilization course. How do you create an effective way for people to go? And sometimes people just need direction, and this is how you do that. So the coalition, we will definitely dive into actual each department even more, because I feel like we kind of went through it kind of quickly, but I definitely want to dive a lot deeper into what each department can actually do. And I also want to give you guys resources that you can use within each department so that you can make it stronger, so that you can make it more effective, so that you can make it more efficient, and so that you can work on it today. So the reason that we are giving out the I guess the community development tools and stuff that we're giving out, not the course, but the way that I'm talking on these podcasts, is because I need you guys to understand the power that you already have. I need you guys to understand that it is already within your grasp. The community that you live in right now has the potential for radical redevelopment, revitalization, and a redistribution of resources. But it is upon you to get out there, to rally support, to get people to advocate, and to get people to engage. You have to activate people's civic engagement and give them a reason to want to move. And when you are ready, I want you to come back to Controversial Conversation, watch these podcasts again, and then get back to work. You already know what it is. It's Jokes to Babe, power to the people, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.